ranked on ranked top 25 battle in Yankee Stadium, the cathedral of college football. Notre Dame and Army. Obviously, this is the moment for Army. All of your, what this could be for Army in terms of the college football playoff, in terms of, the outlook of things that can really get the attention of the college football playoff selection committee. It's going to require, a win here. Not even like playing close. Now, Army's already locked in to the American Athletic Conference championship game. Army still has they're in the midst of one of their most successful seasons in a very long time. So, a loss doesn't throw everything right off the tracks, but buddy, a win would send them to the moon. So, as we're looking at the matchup itself, Danny, what stands out as something that Army needs to be focused on if they are going to be able to pull off the upset against Notre Dame?
I would suggest maybe they played a little bit different than Navy did, who turned it over 6 times. Like, good luck if you try to do that. I think for both of these teams, though, if you're Notre Dame and if you're Army, it's kind of just flip the script about what you want to do. Notre Dame, you want to try to play ahead. And if you're Army, you'd love to play ahead and try to control the pace of the game, right? You want to try to keep the ball away from Notre Dame. That's their whole modus operandi. They want to keep the ball away from all the athletes that they have. I do think Army is a better football team than Navy. Their quarterback doesn't have a broken thumb or something that was going on with Horvath. I think he's really dynamic as a runner and a passer. And I would say for Notre Dame, it's just, and I think they do have the advantage from playing Navy so many times that they will be at least more prepared. But it's one of those things where you have to be assignment sound. You have to make sure you don't chase what you think is the football, because then you'll quickly take the dive and all of a sudden the quarterback's got it. And then you think you've got the quarterback and you go for it and he pitches the last second. So you just have to be really assignment sound on the defensive side of the ball. And if you're Navy, if you're Notre Dame, I think you want to try to establish yourself early. Riley Leonard you're not going to confuse him for somebody that's out there throwing it, 350 yards a game, but he has gotten better and more consistent as a passer. And that's been like a very good development for Notre Dame. So I think those are kind of the points that I would look for early in this game.
I think you have to try to play a higher variance game, right, than maybe normally you would. I would look to what the Irish did. They were like 1 of 12 on third down against Virginia, but they were 1 of 9 specifically in long down and distance situations. So 5+. And that has actually been a bit of an issue for them this year. So I think if you're Army, you need to play an approach that if it goes wrong, you get your doors blown off. But if it goes right, it gives you a chance to actually win the game. Our Army doesn't need to play a close game. They need to get a win in this game, I think, right? Like just playing close and then beating Tulane in the American Championship, if they can pull that off, that would be an upset as well, in my opinion. That's probably not enough to unseat Boise,
right? Assuming
Boise runs out. So you kind of need to play this to win, not just to be respectable. And I think a key part here is selling out early on for tackles for loss and denying some of the short pass and screen stuff. And look, if that goes poorly, right, you misfit a gap, out the gate, right? Okay, you're playing up a little more, you're challenging these receivers more, you get burned deep, and then all of a sudden you're down 17-0 after 10 minutes, and it's all she wrote. I don't think you can just allow Notre Dame to play a conservative offensive game plan against you, because I think they'll probably work that out. Now, offensively, I'm a little concerned. Like, is Bryson Daly truly healthy? Is he all the way healed up? Like that would be the big question I would have. If he's not, I don't give Army much of a chance at all in this ballgame. Even if they're able to execute a defensive game plan, that makes a lot of sense. But I mean, Notre Dame's defense they just don't make a lot of mistakes, man.
Yeah.
I get Army can win this. I think but Notre Dame has to come and play like their C game. If Notre Dame plays well and they show up, they will win the ballgame, regardless of how well Army plays.
Yeah, I think the worst thing for Army in this matchup is that Notre Dame still has something to play for. Like, if Notre Dame's 8-3, I would give Army a fighting chance of being able to pull this. But the fact that Notre Dame really does need to win out to get to the playoff, because that Northern Illinois loss gives them no margin for error. I think if you're Army, it's a very, very steep uphill climb. And the first thing you should do is not turn the ball over 6 times like Navy did in that game. Because if you look at the numbers and you go back, Navy was able to run the ball in that game. They averaged over 5 yards per carry. So it's not like you can't stay on schedule against this Notre Dame defense. Like I don't know if Army can hit the same kind of explosives in the passing game that Navy did, but it's a situation where you need to take care of the football. You need to stay on schedule. You can't get stuck behind the chains. You can't get yourself put in passing situations. And defensively, you need to force some turnovers. It's very, very simple and very simplistic, but it's just the odds of Army being able to do that are very low because, like, the size of athlete they're going against in this game is completely different than anything they have seen. Like, here's Army's schedule: Lehigh, Florida Atlantic, Rice, Temple, Tulsa, UAB, ECU, Air Force, North Texas. None of those teams look anything like the Notre Dame defense they'll be seeing in this game. None of those teams look like the Notre Dame offensive linemen they'll be seeing in those games. So, like, how are you going to get that penetration? How are you going to keep them behind the chains? And, like, with Riley Leonard, how are you going to take him down even if you do get to him because he's so mobile and he's probably faster than most of the guys on your defense? They're going to need like a perfect storm situation to pull this one off. They're going to need, like Bud said, Notre Dame to play its C game. I think Notre Dame might have to play its D game if we're being completely honest about it. So I just, I don't see a great path for them here.
How would you? No, we don't have any Yankee Stadium principles here, right?
I don't know.
That was the turf, because there was that one Bronx Bowl or whatever we call it, the Pinstripe Bowl. That was a problem.
Well, the Pinstripe Bowl principle is to always take the Big Ten team, because it's a Big Ten ACC bowl game, and the Big Ten has won 7 in a row. I think
it's a better league.
I think that David Cutcliffe getting Duke to a bowl win, like 8-9 years ago, was the last time that the ACC won one of those. So I've got a Big Ten ACC Pinstripe Bowl principle, though obviously that does not apply to Army and Notre Dame. Notre Dame has just been kicking the crap out of people. You know, I mean, 2 touchdowns called back for penalties last week, and the offensive line wasn't even all that
One
awesome.
of them was kind of sketchy too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it was a 35-14 win that could have easily been close to another 50 burger. Like they almost had a lot of it because of the way that the defense just totally squeezed the life out of Virginia. Both Virginia scores come very late in that ball game. Marcus Freeman's had some quotes this week about just sort of the mentality he's trying to instill, and that backing up the aggressiveness that even when Steve Angeli comes in, they're still like throwing for it on 3rd and 8 because we're not just trying to run out the clock. Like, we want to have that edge. I think it's the right message to send to this Notre Dame team to avoid an upset in the spot. I like where they're at right here. I generally seem to lean with y'all. It would be a Notre Dame problem if this game ends up being close late in the game.
Northern Illinois, Riley Leonard, 2 picks. They put it on the ground. Like that's the recipe for it. As long as like Notre Dame plays clean, they should be fine.